What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? We have a very special guest on the show, Lexi from the Kingdom's Queens podcast. How are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's awesome to have you on the show. You do a great job down there with the Kingdom's Queens podcast and Jody Newsome. I'm a big fan of the show. I watch it pretty much every time.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
With the first question, just how about you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what made you a Chiefs fan for those who don't know?
Yeah, so pretty much I'm Lexi Osborne. I'm born and raised in Kansas City. So I've lived here all my life. I did move to California for a few years a while ago, but I'm back here. So I've just been born and raised a Kansas City sports fan, whether that's the Chiefs, the Royals, Sporting KC Current. I support them all. So yeah, so I've always been a Chiefs fan, but really got into it, of course, kind of the past few years, and then really got into it when we had guys like Dante Hall and Priest Holmes and guys like that. It's when I really started getting into football. But these past few years have, of course, been a lot of fun with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce and all that good stuff. So yeah, then we started our Kingdom's Queens podcast 2 years ago. And so since we've started it, the Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls. So hasn't been a lack of content there. But yeah, that's kind of a little.
Well, keep it going. So if you keep it going, maybe they can get the 3-peat, 4-peat, 5-peat. Because a lot of people call me crazy, but if you look at it, if against the Patriots in that AFC Championship, who lined up offsides? It was D Ford that lined up offsides, right?
D4.
If he wouldn't have done that, Chiefs headed to the Super Bowl. That could have been a possible win.
And I think the Chiefs had
if the Chiefs had a better O-line in Super Bowl 55, that's probably a win. That's a 5-peat right there. So
right.
just a couple things, couple mistakes, we were away from a 5-peat. So it's not out of this world for a 3-peat. And I definitely think they have a chance to get the 3-peat. What's your opinion on that? You think they can get it done?
I really do. And actually, I feel more confident this year than I did even last year, which is crazy because, I feel like people were telling us, oh, without Tyreek Hill, you guys aren't going to do anything. And then we go on and win the Super Bowl. I just feel like the Chiefs, like you said, there's been, with Patrick Mahomes, it hasn't been a shortage of success, right? It's been either Super Bowl or overtime in the AFC Championship game. That's been his floor, has been this overtime in the AFC Championship game. So I think absolutely they can make the 3-peat. And I think the signings that Brett Veach has made this offseason are really alluding to having that 3-peat. So I feel more confident than ever. And I know like all these guys, I think they're hungrier even more now to because having the 2-peat is awesome, right? As a football fan, that's really, really cool. But a few teams have done that, and the 3-peat no one has done. So I think they're really hungry to chase that piece of history, but it's not going to be easy, but I think they can do it.
Well, I know one player that's ready to get back and is more hungry than ever, and that's Najee Johnson. I had a great conversation with him a couple weeks ago. He was on the show, and he's definitely ready to come back and play. He's very confident in a 3-peat as well. I think it can be done. I made a video earlier today about what the Chiefs need to do to make sure the 3-peat happens. I talked about, Rashee Rice, and a little more news has came out about him the last couple hours. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the Chiefs need to figure out left tackle. I made it clear I think they should just bring back Donovan Smith as a Band-Aid and address left tackle next year because the free agent market for the tackle position is just not very good right now. Patrick Paul from Houston, he's a guy that could come in the draft, but I just think the best option would just be to go wide receiver. I think that's what they should do. So I think bringing a wide receiver from the draft, bring back Donovan Smith, make sure you have a top 10 defense again. I think they're well on the way to a 3-peat for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what we said actually last night on our show was bring back a guy like Donovan Smith because, he's not going to cost much. He knows the system now. And, he can win a Super Bowl with you. So why not? Why not just, I don't know. And then, we're going to need a wide receiver in the draft. So.
Yep. If the Chiefs don't get a receiver in the first round, it's got to be second. And I like Patrick Paul a lot. I really think the wide receiver position is just a little more important. Donovan Smith, he's not great, but he's not horrible. He can be there for another year, a vet minimum deal, and he'll be your left tackle. He'll do decent. But
What do you
Rasheed Rice,
about, oh, I want to ask you, what do you think about Wanye Morris?
Wanya Morris, listen, I think he's a great player, but in my opinion, he kind of showed that he wasn't ready yet to be that starting left tackle. I mean, Mahomes is in his prime. He's gonna play the best he's ever played before, and I really have preached this a lot that the Chiefs need to make sure his blind side is protected.
Yeah.
And right now, in the few games that I saw Wanya, I'm just not too comfortable in that yet. And to be honest, I'm not comfortable with Donovan either, but you really don't have a choice. And I would
He at
rather
least
have
has experience.
Donovan because he has the experience. Wanye, I could definitely see him being the starter in a couple years. I just think he needs to sit back and observe a little more and then see where he's at. Maybe put him in a couple games this upcoming season and see how he does. But I think he's a great player. I think he has potential for sure. So Rasheed Rice, a lot has came out the last couple hours. A lot of sad and bad news. A arrest warrant has been issued for him, and he'll have a day to turn himself in. What's all this about? What do you think about this?
I think overall, as a whole situation, I think it's just a really big bummer. I think it was so exciting to get Hollywood Brown in the offseason and kind of have that idea of pairing him with Rashi, and then kind of opening Travis Kelce back up because he was so double, triple teamed last season. So I think it was really exciting to have that addition of Hollywood Brown with Rashi Rice. I think it's a huge bummer. I think he had his whole future ahead of him, and he made a really, honestly, just a dumb decision. And it happens, he's on top of the world. He has a lot of money. Life got the best of him. And unfortunately, it ended in a way that, I'm sure he wasn't thinking was going to happen, but it did. And he didn't handle it right. He walked off. And so unfortunately, you're going to have to pay some consequences for that. And I don't know. It doesn't sound great right now, but as a lot of us know, guys in the NFL, guys with money can sometimes get away with things that maybe they shouldn't. So I'm not sure. I know a few weeks ago, Nate Taylor was saying he was thinking maybe like 4 or 5 games he'd be suspended. With everything coming out, I don't know if Roger Goodell is going to try to make an example out of him and, kind of make it a more harsh punishment, or if he will get off easier, or if I don't see him doing any jail time. I really don't. But I think anything's on the table right now. So we just kind of have to see how it's going to play out. But it's unfortunate. It's really a bummer.
Do you think there's a possibility that Roger Goodell decides to suspend him for the whole 2024 season?
I could see it. I don't think that'll happen. I really don't. I think that's just, if he does that, it would be really him trying to make an example out of Rashi. But I think I hate to say it, but this has happened before in the league. This happened with a Jets player last offseason. And now, no one really cares about the Jets, so it doesn't matter as much with their players. But it happened with one of them, and he was in a high-speed whatever, and ended up paralyzing a guy. And that Jets player only got 1 suspended game. So, I'm like, it's hard to say. But I feel like because Rashi's case is it's so national, it's so, like, it's made every headline, I think it could be a little bit worse. I don't know what to think. The headlines make it not look good, but you never know.
That's crazy. The Jets player paralyzed somebody, and Rasheed Rice. I think there was somebody involved in the crash that was put on bed rest. I think I read, but bed rest and paralyzed is 2 totally different things. And we're talking Rasheed Rice getting 5 games suspended, and that guy only got 1. That's crazy to me. That's backwards. What's your opinion on the new hip drop tackle rule?
Man, I don't love it, but my initial reaction was like, oh, I hate that. I've listened to a lot of like former players and current players kind of talk about it, just in different interviews and such. And a lot of people sound confused on what it even will look like. So I'm curious just to see how it plays out. I feel like it's going to end up in some unfortunate calls throughout the season where people are going to be like, oh, that was annoying. Why was that called or whatever. So I could see that happening. I don't know for sure. I don't love it. I feel like let the guys play, but I guess it did result in some injuries, right? So I kind of understand it, but it's not my favorite rule change.
Yeah, they did it to lower injuries, but I didn't like it. I don't like it at all. I think you got to let them play, like you said. I mean, my thing is, how are you going to tackle guys like Isaiah Pacheco? Like Isaiah
Right.
Pacheco, he's going to go off. How are you going to tackle guys like Patrick Mahomes? That's a benefit in a way, but then you play teams like Baltimore. If we play Baltimore in the playoffs, I can't remember if we play in the regular season, but if we play them in the playoffs, it's going to be difficult to stop Derrick Henry. So
we do play them in the regular season. They come to Arrowhead this next year.
So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's cool. It's gonna be difficult to stop Pacheco and Mahomes, but I don't like it. I don't like it. I think it's gonna make it very tough on the defensive players.
Yeah.
Justin Reed didn't like it either. He said he didn't like it.
Yeah.
So I don't like it. I think they should have just kept it how it is. But we'll have to see, what it looks like, and I'm curious to see how corners and DBs tackle these running backs. I really am very curious to see. Should Justin Reed do kickoffs with the new rules?
I wouldn't mind seeing it, actually. I think the way the new rules are going to be, I think he'd be great in terms of being on the line and having to tackle. I think Harrison Butker is probably capable, but we don't see him tackle too often. He doesn't usually have to. So it would not surprise me at all, especially like in preseason. I feel like they'll probably experiment with Justin Reed out there, see how he does. I could see it for sure. I wouldn't mind it at all. And actually, I think our new guy, Lewis Reese Zammit, that guy, the rugby player from the UK. I don't know if you saw that video of him, but he can kind of kick. So maybe he would be an option to do kickoffs and then be there to tackle. I'd be interested to see, but no, I wouldn't mind Justin Reed doing that at all.
Yeah, I'm all for letting Justin Reed experience. I think the Chiefs should test it out first in the preseason, see how it goes, and if it works out pretty well, let him. I mean, I think it'd be interesting to see for sure. Who is your draft crush? Who is the one guy you're like, I want the Chiefs to get him, but I'm not sure if we can get him? Who's that guy you just really, really want in the draft?
I think there's a few receivers for me, especially first round, that I'd love to see that would fall to us. Of course, there's higher receivers that are never going to drop to us. I would love to see A.D. Mitchell. I would love to see Xavier Worthy. And then I think a guy like Ladd McConkey could be pretty cool too. So those are
I love Ladd McConkey. His footwork is awesome. I want the Chiefs to draft Ladd McConkey.
Yeah. And I think all three of those guys have potential of falling to us. It just kind of depends how the draft, how everything falls that night. But I think any of those three would be awesome on the Chiefs.
I like Ladd McConkey. I like Adonai Mitchell. My thing with Xavier Worthy is I wouldn't be mad if the Chiefs got him. He's fast, and I think he'd do good here. It's hard for players not to do good in Kansas City. They have a good chance. I mean, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. So
yeah, you have a high potential no matter what. But
yeah, so I think he'd do good here. My thing with Xavier Worthy is you look at the 10 fastest combine runs by wide receivers in history, and you look at all of them, and they're all busts. John Ross, bust. They're all busts, and Xavier Worthy, he's a different person, but all these players have been busts. So speed doesn't make you a legitimate wide receiver in the NFL. I've told people this, but Xavier Worthy, I think he'd do good here in Kansas City. It's just, we thought CEH would do good here in Kansas City too, and he hasn't really done what we thought. So, Xavier Worthy, I wouldn't be mad, but I would rather have A.D. Mitchell or Lad McConkey just because of the statistics backing up.
I've seen a few people say they think Lad McConkey is going to be like last year's Puka Nakua, where he kind of goes under the radar, but then he's going to be like really, really good. So I'd be really excited if we drafted him. Yeah, I think Xavier Worthy, I think he'd be really good, or I think he has all the potential to be really good, but it all depends how he's utilized and if he can pick up our system. So there's a lot of potential there, but like you said, it's hard to say.
Do you think Kadarius Toney's going to pick up our system? Because I'm still waiting on him and Sky Moore to pick it up.
We're waiting on both of them. At least I did see Kadarius Toney was back there with Mahomes today in Texas, which is a good sign, right? I don't know. I think the upside is there with KT, but what's weird to me is that first year we had him, there was so much potential there, and he was making all those crazy plays that we expected from him, and he was adjusting to all of those catches, and there was like no worries in the world. And for some reason, something was just really off last year, and I don't know if that was just our offense as a whole rubbing off on him or if it was a him problem. I think give him one more year, see what he does, and if it's just not there, it's not there, and then you let him go. But I think I'm hopeful he can kind of turn it back around, find that old version of him, stay healthy. That's all we can really hope for, because I think he is going to be on our team. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect from him. He's up in the air for me.
I think the biggest thing for him is he needs to stay healthy. He's always hurt. And, to me, I'm surprised he's on this team. Not, because of how he's played, but because of his behavior, kind of. He went on, I can't remember but I remember the morning of the AFC Championship or something, he went on and started talking bad about the Chiefs, saying that they were lying about him being injured. So I was like, I'm sure Kadarius Toney's going to get cut. So I'm surprised he's still on this team. But I think his biggest thing is he needs to stay healthy. The matter of fact he was hurt. I mean, he needs to stay healthy. If he's healthy, there's a lot of potential there, and he's definitely intriguing. A healthy Kadarius Toney is intriguing, so he needs to just stay healthy. And then as far as Sky Moore goes, he is healthy. I mean, he did miss a few games there at the end of the season. I can't remember exactly for what, but
he did have some injury. But
but for the most part, Sky Moore is a healthy player. It's just with him, I just don't know what it is with him. It just hasn't clicked yet with him, and I'm hoping it clicks with him this year.
Yeah, me too. I'm kind of hoping he was just in a sophomore slump, but my hopes are not up with Sky Moore. I think if anything, it's just a positive if he ends up playing well.
Yeah, I'm really rooting for guys like Sky and KT this year.
I think Sky's a really good guy. I think he's working hard. He's trying to be that good player. He's trying to be what we thought he was going to be. I'm sure he knows more than anyone that he had a disappointing season, right? So I'm sure he's trying to find that groove. I don't know. I think people were so high on him last year and for what he was going to bring, and then it just was not there for whatever reason. It just was not there. So maybe he can find that this year. I don't know. But overall with those two, it's up in the air.
Well, if Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore aren't succeeding in Kansas City, where you have the best head coach of all time, the best quarterback of all time, best tight end of all time, if they're not succeeding in Kansas City, the only other place that I could see them possibly doing something would be Detroit. Detroit and Kansas City are probably the only two teams that I could see, helping KT and Sky Moore. So, I mean, usually when players don't work out in Kansas City, they ain't gonna work out at all. They got it the best here. So, who's your most hated team in the AFC West?
My most hated team? Who in the AFC West? I feel like it's got to be the Raiders.
It's got to be the Raiders.
It's got to be.
Yep, it's got to be. The Broncos suck too, but the The Chargers, I don't really hate the Chargers. You want to beat them, obviously. I don't hate them. They're chill, but the Raiders, they talk too much. I hate them. I don't like them.
Yeah, Raiders, Broncos, Chargers.
Yeah.
Although Broncos were high up for me last year just because of the way they were talking, but I understand they were tired of losing to us, and I get that because we had beat them so many times in a row. But Raiders, yeah, man, they love to talk, and their coach is just preaching violence, and it's going to be interesting with them.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with the Broncos. They don't got a quarterback right now. I expect them to suck again. Chiefs are going to beat them twice. I don't know. The Broncos, I don't know. They just can't get it figured out at the quarterback position.
They seem like they just took a big step back once again.
Yeah, once they traded, Russell, I don't know. They gave up so much for Russell Wilson, and then they paid him a big contract before he even took a snap with them.
Mm-hmm.
He's an older player. Not a smart move there at all.
Yeah, and I feel like to risk that much and then to bring in a coach that was not going to jive with him is very interesting because I feel like they got rid of him because of Sean Payton. Because Russell he hasn't been great, but he didn't have a terrible season last year. There was way worse quarterbacks, so I don't know, but it seems like him and Sean Payton did not vibe whatsoever.
Yeah, him and Sean Payton didn't work out at all. Yeah, that didn't work out.
I don't know who they'll take at quarterback. I have no idea.
I don't know. I saw Sean Payton was interested in J.J. McCarthy potentially, and Broncos fans are mad at me because I'm telling them, you traded away Russell Wilson, who is a guy that likes to leave the pocket and do all that, and Sean Payton, I'm pretty sure he's one of those quarterbacks one of those coaches that likes the quarterback to stay inside the pocket. So you traded away Russell Wilson to draft another Russell Wilson, and Broncos fans hate me. J.J. McCarthy leaves the pocket a lot. So
it doesn't, I don't know. I don't know how
things are weird.
But
yeah, I don't know. The Broncos, I don't think they got anything.
Yeah, I don't think they're a threat right now.
They got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Do you like the Carson Wentz signing?
I do, actually. Yeah, I'm a fan of that. I think it makes perfect sense. I think he fits right into the Andy Reid scheme. I think they probably would have liked to have him last year, but he was still trying to get a starter job. And I think he finally realized that's really not in the cards for him right now. So I think it's the perfect spot for him. You have potential to win here. You have potential to be in a really, really good quarterback room. And I think if, God forbid, anything happened to Mahomes, I think he'd be a good backup for us. So, yeah, I like it. I'm a fan of it. I think it was a really fair contract, and it makes a lot of sense.
The Chiefs were interested in him last year, so I thought they would bring him in last year, but they ended up going with Blaine Gabbert. But I didn't really – you kind of could see it coming this year. The Chiefs didn't re-sign Blaine Gabbert as quickly. And, Carson Wentz was out there. They were interested in him last year, so I could kind of see that coming. And I like it. I think he's a great backup quarterback.
It's like no offense to Blaine, but I think Carson is two folds better than him. So,
yeah, yep. Do you like? Oh, who needs to step up at corner? Being that L'Jarius Sneed is now with the Titans.
Joshua Williams, definitely. I think Nazeeh Johnson is going to have himself a good year.
Nazee's going to go off.
Yeah. He was doing really well last training camp and then unfortunately was injured. I think he's going to do really well. I think Chamari Connor is going to step up. But he's, again, kind of safety also. But I feel like those guys are going to kind of step in where they need to be. I think Jalen Watson has all the potential right there. When they had to step in for Sneed during the AFC Championship game last year against the Bengals, Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson played really well.
Mm-hmm.
And that was with Joe Burrow starting, and so I think all the potential in the world is there with those guys. I think Trent McDuffie is going to really step up and be that leader in the room now. And then I'm curious, I think we'll probably draft a cornerback too, probably in like the 5th round or something.
I like TJ Tampa a lot. I believe Iowa State. He's most likely a second or third round guy. If he's there in the third round at pick 95, I believe we have, then I would say the Chiefs should probably go with that. But the Chiefs, they have a lot of luck with drafting corners in the 7th and 4th round. So Reach can do his thing with corners. He
Yeah,
knows
he
he knows
definitely.
what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Do
Yeah,
the Texans scare you at all?
The Texans? Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that they scare me. I think they're maybe one of our biggest threats in the AFC. But again, I mean, the Bills had Stephon Diggs for a few years, and he didn't do anything against us in the playoffs. Great in the regular season, not great in the playoffs. So I don't know that that means he's going to step up now that he's on the Texans. I do think their receiving core is probably a little better, and it kind of opens Diggs up a little bit more with Nico Collins and Tank Dell and stuff like that. But there's a long season to get through. These guys have to stay healthy. Our guys have to stay healthy too. But yeah, I think the Texans. My early prediction is that it'll be Texans Chiefs AFC Championship game. I think that'd be cool, and I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think they're probably our biggest threat as of right now, just in the offseason and on paper. Do they scare me? I don't know. I think our team scares me the most, because if anyone's going to beat the Chiefs, it's the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs beat themselves in that AFC
Oh,
Championship against the Bengals a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people also ask me, is there any team in the AFC that scares me? Well, no, because the Chiefs always beat them. Why would I be scared of them? I was a little frightened of the Bengals there for a minute, but we proved to be able to get past them. I don't think Buffalo makes the playoffs. Josh Allen ain't very good without Stephon Diggs. They've lost so much defensively.
Yes. Yeah.
Buffalo's going to be out of there. Miami, maybe. I mean, they don't scare me, but Miami.
Yeah. Miami just didn't do anything against us these last 2 games.
Yeah. Miami. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Tua. I like Tyreek, but Tua, I'm not a huge fan of him. Baltimore, we've proven to beat them. Houston, we haven't beat them with this new Texan team, so it'll be interesting to see if we play them, what we can do against him or against them. Do we play them in the regular season?
We do play them. They come to Arrowhead in the regular season, so that'll be a good test.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. I could honestly see them maybe beating us in the regular season, and then us playing them in the playoffs and us beating them. I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah, the Texans, they are the biggest threat to the Chiefs right now, and I would still think that the Chiefs beat them, and I'm very, very confidently saying that because the Texans are just way too young. They don't, have a lot of playoff experience. So
I think that's the biggest thing, is the experience that the Chiefs have versus any other team right now. I think that's where Tom Brady was ultimately able to get Patrick Mahomes those few times he beat him. The first time was the championship game, and then the Super Bowl, obviously. I think he was able to beat the Chiefs because he had that experience. I think the Chiefs now are the team with that experience, and it kind of takes the Chiefs to have a really off day like they did against the Bengals in that championship game a few years ago. I think it takes them having that off of a day for anyone to beat them at this point. Because I think even like in the Super Bowl, this past one against the Niners, which did not start out well for us. Like that whole first half was terrible, awful. But then they just flip a switch. Mahomes can flip a switch immediately and figure out a way to win the game. And that's what he just seems to do all the time. So I think the Texans, they have a great team. I think they're going to be the media darling over the offseason of okay, the Texans are going to be the team to beat the Chiefs. It's going to be that whole narrative for a few months to come. But we'll see. We'll see.
It's so crazy how the Chiefs let McCall Hardman go. He goes with the Jets. He does nothing with the Jets. They trade back for him at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And little did we know, I thought they just brought him back because, we needed somebody to come in and help us at receiver. But little did we know that this was the guy that was going to seal our Super Bowl victory just a couple months later. That is absolutely crazy.
That is crazy. The winning touchdown.
It was, what did they say? They called it Tom and Jerry. Andy Reid called it Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry.
Craziest plays, but they work. And then with the last thing, are the Royals actually good this year? Do we think they're actually going to?
I'm fully on board. I'm on board right now. Last year, I have to admit, I did not watch a lot of the games because it just wasn't looking good. But this year, it seems like they have a fire in them that they haven't had for a few years. And it seems like the team really has the chemistry. I'm on board. Yeah, go Royals.
Go Royals, yeah.
I think they have all the people in the world, at least to make the playoffs. I don't know that they'll
making the playoffs. That'd be an accomplishment.
Yeah, baseball's so weird because it's like there's no cap space, and so teams can kind of do whatever they want, and so you have like these super teams, then you have everyone else, and it kind of just goes off of luck. But I hope so. I'm rooting for them. I think they look good so far.
Yep, so far so good with them, and I don't expect them to do anything crazy like win the World Series or anything like that. But I definitely do I definitely could see them making the playoffs, and then down the road within the next couple of years, do something awesome, winning the World Series. So they did it in 2015. I'm hoping they can do it before we lose Salvador Perez.
Yeah, me too. He's just the best. You're probably so young when we were in that World Series, but it was such a good time. It was such a fun team, and Salvy's just been that core guy for us since then. So
yep, him and Bobby Witt Jr. They got to carry us to this future World Series victory. But thank you for coming on. You want to tell everybody where they can find your show at?
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for having me. You can find us at The Kingdom's Queens on YouTube. Please subscribe. We go live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. And then you can also find us on Apple and Spotify. We're also on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at The Kingdom's Queens. I'm at Lexi Osborne on there. And then we're also on Instagram as well at The Kingdom's Queens. So Kingdoms with an S, Kingdom's Queens.
Go down there and subscribe to the podcast. I'm telling you, it's better than mine. They do a great job. They do a great job over there. And go down there, subscribe, like, share, do all that. But thank you for coming on. It's been a great show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.